unless people think you were trying to read too much into the text, I mean, First Samuel is very clear in the way it presents Saul, and we shouldn't necessarily view all the people of Scripture, we shouldn't, as white hats or black hats. Like Saul, there are some passages that are good things about him, but overall, he's depicted as a man who is not after God's own heart, and a man who constantly falls short. And I think that's even underscored when we're introduced to him in 1 Samuel 9. Clearly, the people want a king like the nations. They reject God as their king, and they want a king like the nations, and God gives them what they ask for. But even when we're introduced to him in 1 Samuel 9, he is a shepherd of his father's donkeys, and he lost the donkeys. Like and then what is David? David is the shepherd of God's people. And the greater David, David's son, David's Lord, is the great shepherd who loses none of his sheep. So these are not just mere speculations. Clearly, First Samuel's indicating to us this is a mere man, but a man who constantly falls short. And then over time, as he realizes his ineptitude and his failures, he is swallowed up and eaten by his pride and arrogance and his sin, and opposes God's will and opposes God's way and opposes the Lord's anointed.
He's a type of fallen Adam, not the redemption that comes in the last. And Camden, just to buttress that, 1 Samuel 13 through 16 narrates that threefold failure of Saul to seek the Lord and have a theocentric view of the kingdom. And it's in that context that Samuel tells Saul that when you offered sacrifice rather than obedience to God, the kingdom is being stripped from you. Just like your clothes are stripped when you prophesy, the kingdoms will be taken from you and given to another. So we're not at all speculating. That is the biblical presentation of Saul. And the chilling thing is he sought to be a prophet, priest, and king, but his heart was far from the Lord.
Yeah, and that's as you already concluded, but it's instructive for us always to seek the Lord and to follow after him, and not to turn our eyes to the things or even to the ways of the world, but to set our mind on Christ and his kingdom, to fix our mind upon ta'ano, the things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. And that's our identity. It's in him. It's not in the world. And so let's seek him and seek the things above.
And the beautiful thing, the last thing I'll say is the beautiful thing is that David, and this is something I want everyone to remember, David could have killed Saul in terms of his military prowess. He could have
the
done
opportunity.
just like that. And he had opportunity after opportunity. David embraced the cross of Christ and never sought to minister from a position of strength, but he trusted the Lord. He accepted his disenfranchisement. He was faithful because the kingdom was not about him, but about the God that he served and the one promised whom he typified. David took up a cross, bore up under the great persecution under Saul, would not raise a hand against him out of love. And in that way, walking in a path of disenfranchisement and cross-bearing, in that way, David shows us the way of the cross. And it's beautiful.